answers. So let's get started. I do want to particularly thank Sourcewell, who is our educational series partner. And they have provided funding so we can put this on free of charge. And we're going to start off with a little quick video from Sourcewell. So please watch and listen. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ginger Line, and I work as a Client Development Administrator at Sourcewell. Looking at the list of attendees, I recognize many of you from other NPI and NIGP events. I first started working at Sourcewell in 2008 in our procurement department. As our cooperative purchasing contract use and offerings grew rapidly, we struggled finding time beyond our regular day-to-day work. Each year at NPI, we were inspired by other government procurement professionals walking across the stage to receive their AEP award. Sourcewell staff wanted to join this distinguished group. In 2016, the Sourcewell team applied for our first AEP award, and I was the project manager. And let me tell you, I was immediately overwhelmed by the application. I'm sure many of you are asking the same questions I did. How am I going to get this information and put it together? Is our process good enough for an award? And what happens if we don't get it? But like the saying goes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And just like we are here to help guide you today, Sourcewell leaders put together a team to help me with our application. We pulled together representatives from all departments to help draft answers, gather data, and submit the responses. We did earn the AEP award that first year, and 5 more times since. But the real success comes from the application process. It forces us to examine our own procurement process and make meaningful adjustments. We realize each year it takes effort and a team to make this happen, as we learn even more about ourselves and we get re-energized to strive for continuous improvement for each other and for the procurement experts who use our contracts. We are in the middle of our 7th application, and I hope to see all of you in Atlanta in October to hear about your AEP adventures. Today, I'm happy you are here taking that first bite to say we are going to apply or apply again. Congratulations.
What a fantastic video, and again, a big thanks to Sourcewell, our government education partner. One thing that Ginger mentioned in that was that they used the AEP application and the process itself to take a look at their own contracting procedures. And that's really what this program is all about. It is to refine, to improve. We do hope that everybody that applies for the award gets it. As most of you probably know, there is a self-score worksheet at the back of the application, which allows you to take a look and view all of the criteria and the points that are available to give yourselves an idea of where you're at, maybe something that you need to work on, maybe something that you plan for next year. But again, it's a great roadmap, and we hope that everybody on this call is able to apply this year and is successful in achieving the award. One last thing that I'll mention before we get into the core of our program today is everybody that is in attendance will receive a CEH, and we will send out the form for that after sometime within the next 48 hours after the meeting closes today. So take a look, be on the watch out in your email for that, and we'll get that out to everybody. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the presentation to one of our team members, Barbara Grilly, and she is going to cover Criterion 3 for you today. Again, if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. We will answer everything that we can. After Barbara's done with her presentation, we'll cover questions on that. And then if we have time, we can go into other questions about the application of the process itself. So a big thank you to Barbara, and go ahead and take it over.
Thanks so much, Brian. Appreciate the opportunity here, and welcome to everybody who's out there listening, whether this is the first time you've applied, or if this is a challenging criteria for you, or you just wanted to explore some of the model submittals with some guidance. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share my screen. I'm having a little bit of an issue with my mouse today, but we're gonna
Right,
get by
let's
that.
wait for me. Let me sign that. Just leave it, okay? Oh, let's wait for me.
Is everyone seeing my screen?
I am unable to. It says that you've started sharing your screen, but I can't see anything. I don't know if I'm the only one.
Same here.
It's blank. It's
It's
Charlie.
blank. All right,
Same blank.
we're gonna keep trying. Hopefully a little bit better.
It's populated now.
Very good. Very good. Thanks for that. We're in a brand new building here, coming to you live from Tampa, Florida today, and I'm in a brand new office building. And we're having a little bit of network problem, a little bit of lag here. And it is telling me that it has stopped sharing again.
Yeah, we just see you now.
Yeah,
Third time's a charm.
yep. We'll get there, guys.
Maybe there's too many planes flying over.
Could be. There's a lot of air traffic out there lately.
Barbara represents one of our sponsors, FAPO, Florida Association of Public Procurement Officials, and she's the procurement director at Tampa International Airport. Now she said they're in a brand new building there, so hopefully we can get her tech up and running.
Yes.
And while Barbara's working on that, maybe I will just go over a couple pointers, lots of questions that I always get. And once she gets her screen up and going, we'll transition back to her. But one thing that I wanted to mention was that, you know, a lot of times we get questions about how do I view my scorecard? And your scorecard is available in the AEP application portal. It is not available on the NPI member website. There are two different databases. It's available in the AEP application portal once you log in, and then you click on a link entitled History at the top, and you'll be able to view last year and prior year scorecards. I'm going to stop. It looks like she's got it up and running. So go ahead, Barbara. Thank you.
We're good to go. Thanks, Brian, and thanks for filling in there. Our network is just a little bit lagging today, but once again, thanks for joining us to learn a little bit more about Criteria 3. As I said, whether this is your first time applying, or if this is just a challenging criteria for you, or you're looking at a new way to approach it that may be a little clearer and a little easier to maintain from year to year as you're submitting your different applications. So let's talk a little bit about the essentials in this criterion. We're looking for, and as an evaluator of this criterion for several years now, along with Kathleen Moretti, who could not join us today, there's some things that we look for as evaluators that I wanted to share with you. We're looking for a planned and deliberate approach to continuing education, and everything needs to be a procurement issue. Every class, every professional development aspect It cannot be stop the bleed training, safety training. It needs to really be about procurement, and that's in your description. The third thing I wanted to highlight was all of your full-time professional procurement staff. It's always very painful when we see someone who's put together a great list. They have identified all their procurement staff, and there are 1 or 2 people missing within the list of educational sessions that they've attended. And we can't award you those 10 points. So in a nutshell, what we need you to provide in this criteria is the narrative about your program. And again, it doesn't have to be long. When we jump out to our model criterion, you will see that some of them have a very long narrative and some of them are just short and to the point, which are fine. 3 lists. First is the list of your full-time procurement staff members. And this is usually not your entire staff. You may have delivery drivers, you may have clerical staff, folks who are not full-time procurement. So you do not need to, or you should not include them in that first list. It's nice to keep that list alphabetized so you can carry that list into the second list, which is the list of training received since January 2021 by procurement staff member. And then the third list is the planned training for that list of folks. Maintaining that same order is an easy way to do it. So it's easy for you to track and it's easy to evaluate for the next year's planned training. And again, we must be able to identify that the training was specifically procurement and not only, not the safety training, not outside different training, but things that are not simply attended a webinar or attended the conference. Please detail in that table in your list specifically how it is procurement training. So let's jump out, hopefully, and take a look at some model submittals. Some of you have been there already, I'm sure.
And Barbara, while you're getting to that, I'm just going to jump into the chat here and answer a couple of questions. James asks, should we only include procurement training planned and received in the list or all training with procurement identified? And I hope I understand this question correctly, which would be, do we include training that wasn't planned? Is that, James, give me a quick explanation on that one. Well, I'll wait for the, so my thoughts on it are, yes, include procurement training planned and received. In the second list, it doesn't have to be received yet because it's training that is going to be for the upcoming calendar year. In this case, 2022, the year that we're in. But James, if you want to clarify that, I'll go back to that.
Or if I can jump in really quick, what I think James might be saying is looking at the current year in the submittal, if there were things that weren't in your planned list the year before, if these things were procurement training that was completed, yes, absolutely include them in there.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah, the current list, current list, anything that's procurement related.
And then we have a couple of questions that are similar from Liliana and Asela. What do we do if we have a person that's new to the organization, and what do we do if we have someone that left halfway through? That happens all the time, unfortunately. So all you have to do is notate that. Obviously, if they're not there, or they have come in the second half of the training plan, all you got to do is notate that when they started, when they left, something like that. And then,
can I add to that?
Yeah, you bet.
Absolutely.
Only just because this was noted, and the comment and feedback was, well, you don't have training for this person from this year, but we had it for future planned, but not for the past year. And that's because they had just joined the organization.
Four objects.
And so
Well-
that was the feedback we got back. And I was like, how would they have training past year if they had just joined the organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. And if you want to send me the information of the application, I can look at it, but I can tell you that occasionally, the evaluators will miss something. But generally speaking, if you note that the permanent person, the employee is not there for a particular time period, that shouldn't count against you.
Absolutely. And that's a great question. And we do see that a lot, as Brian mentioned. And I think I'll even be able to show you a little bit of that in the model submittals and how some of these agencies approach that. But as long as it's, you can put an asterisk next to the name and say this person joined halfway through, then that usually explains it. If not, we can address those one by one.
Show you.
Any other questions out there before we take a look at these model submittals?
We've got a couple more real quick in the chat. Monica's asked, can you clarify, are we to have all full-time procurement staff listed and all procurement staff are to be identified as having received training, or at a minimum on the future list of training? What if someone in the procurement list did not receive training? If someone is in the list and they have not received training and they were there for the majority of the time for that particular calendar year, I would say, yes, you would not receive credit. The goal of this criterion is to have everybody receive training, all professional staff. And I know at the end of this presentation, Barbara's going to give some links to some free training that's out there. So everybody should be able to receive at least one professional development class each year. And then James clarified that procurement training versus training that was not procurement specific. Thanks, James. We would just want to see the list of procurement training. And Barbara, go ahead and jump into those model submittals if you would.
Great. So criteria number 3, we've got 6 model submittals out here, and 5 of them are from large agencies. And those are kind of tough to lay out. So we'll take a look at how they did it. But City of Rancho Cucamonga, and I just like to say Rancho Cucamonga because it's a great name for a city. So this is a good example of a well laid out response for a small procurement division. So their first list is basically a listing of their 3 folks, Ruth, Cheryl, and Hector. Second list, before I move on to that, the narrative, short, concise, and to the point about how Rancho Cucamonga Procurement Division has established their program.
Draw another object that does not look like a sphere.
Hey, Barbara, real quick, if you could, I would appreciate, I don't know if anybody else would, zooming in just a tad on your item there. It's a little bit hard to read. And then I want to also remind people, please mute yourself so we can make sure we hear everything Barbara has to say. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, hopefully that's a little bigger.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Not a problem. So now we're into that second of the 3 lists that I was talking about, and they arranged it. There are only 3 people. The lists are by person.
Move it out of time, Mom.
Oh, somebody's got their audio on out there. Okay. And they've arranged them in the same order of their list, starting with Ruth Kane. This is what Ruth Kane did for the year 2020. Then our second employee, Cheryl. And of course, it's very consistent year, date, course type. Is it a webinar, face-to-face? Is it a conference? And again, as we mentioned before, if it's a conference, it just doesn't say the entire conference. It explains in the description what procurement related specifically subject matter that they attended. So that makes it very clear. Person had a lot of training, which is fantastic. And here's Ruth Kane for 2021. Cheryl Combs for 2021. And Hector Velasquez. So again, very consistent, very short and to the point. And of course, this was full credit. They got their 10 points. Okay, let's take a look at another one. County of San Diego. And San Diego County is a very, very large agency. Make this a little bigger. Hopefully everyone can see that. So they've explained in a short narrative how they meet the requirement. And they go on to advise on how they've attached their procurement staff and 2020 professional development attendance matrix. And then following that, they actually combined the first two lists into one. And the third list, of course, was their projected schedule. So let's take a look. Really interesting matrix style that if you have a large department, you may want to use this as a model.
Go pick up food. I know. It was warm when I was walking back.
So you can see they've listed their staff alphabetically. Everyone has available to them the same list of trainings. So you can tell it was intentional. Quite a few people. And someone had mentioned, how do you handle someone who has just come on board in the middle? This is a great way to do that. We've got an asterisk.
Extra hot sauce, thank you.
Next to Taylor Cox, and advising that this new staff member started after January 21st, 2021. So they actually have a menu of standard classes that they took, which enabled them to not have a repetitive description. They only had to write the description once, which was a really neat approach, we thought. And here's how they laid out their plans for 2021. And instead of listing the individuals, you'll see off to the right, the staff is either all staff, procurement staff, and everyone would be attending those. And there's the list of the entire staff who would be attending. So that is a real neat, concise way to detail your staff attending. Okay.
Barbara, as you're moving on to the next example, I want to just kind of further clarify a question that Paige had.
Sure.
And she said, if we don't have the course titles because it's an upcoming conference, can we still include it in the planned training? And yes, absolutely. You don't necessarily have to have the course titles, but if it's a let's say it's a conference like a CAPO, FAPO, TEXPA, NPI conference, something like that, just describe in general what the conference is for. You know, most of us know what these conferences are, but keep in mind we've got 20 evaluators and they hail from all the sponsoring organizations and have different conferences that they attend, so they may not necessarily know what the conference is for. So put a general description of what it's going to be, and if they have a general agenda, you can include that. And I'd also say if you're a large organization, you don't necessarily have to include every single class that they went to at a particular conference. You could just say, you know, CAPO 2021, and list, you know, 3 or 4 of the sessions that they went to. You don't have to list all of it for 4 days. I know it makes for a very long list, but just enough so that the evaluation committee gets an idea on the type of conference, and yes, that they did attend, and know what the type of sessions that they attended were. Thank you.
Yeah, great comment, Brian. And basically, we're establishing that each person had training for the 1 year, and as well as planned for the next year. So whether it was 1 or 21, you can capture it concisely. So thanks for that, Brian. So we'll move on to the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. And as I mentioned, these other agencies are fairly large, and you'll see how they approach the question. So following are the pages covering the professional development plan. Again, we talk about the 3 lists: the list of full-time people, a list by staff member for training for 2020, and a list by staff member name for the planned training in 21. So here's the first list, and they've identified everyone who's a full-time purchasing professional, all 16 of them. Again, really nice use of a matrix here without having to repeat the description of their training, because a lot of them did attend the same training. And I think that's common for agencies. You may send more than 1 person to the training. So contract negotiation, webinars, you can tell there's a good concise description in there of exactly what they attended across the board. And again, the names are across the top of the matrix in the same order of the list. So it's easy for you to track, and it's easy for the evaluator to be sure that everyone attended at least 1 training.
You know, one thing great you see about this list, Barbara, is that they have all types of training. They have things that, you know, with professional trainers like Lourdes Cross, they have stuff from, I saw Daryl Sweet's name in there, who's a capital board member. They have procurement department meetings. So all types of training. We understand that not everybody has the budget to get and hire professional trainings. But there's lots of different things. And again, Barbara's going to show you some free training. But don't forget, you can have training in your own procurement department. I saw Tammy Rhymes on there. She offers free training from NCPP. So all types of trainings count. I just want to make sure that everybody gets the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, there's lots of ways to get training. And we have seen in narratives before that folks have submitted and said, hey, we just didn't have the budget to do any trainings. And of course, we can't award the points for that. But as Brian said at the end of this presentation, hopefully we'll give you some ideas on how you can obtain some training without breaking the budget. So, and of course, here's that third and final list. This is the training plan. And you can see there is a plan across the board for every employee in this agency. And if not marked, it's open to all. So you can see they've got a pretty good, robust plan. They even have some on-demand courses, which cover their training requirements. So, yep, another good example. Orange County Transportation, they're another fairly large agency. And again, we'll go a little bit faster through this one because I'm sure you're all getting the rhythm to this and how certain agencies have arranged these. They have, this one was interesting. As I said, some of the narratives can be very concise, but in other cases, you can have a narrative such as this one, that they have a 20-page development plan that they've included. And this definitely drives the point home that they have, this is a very intentional program Everyone is included, nobody is left behind. And I believe, pardon my scrolling here, that on to page 20. This is when they've started their actual lists. So again, they've kept the same order of, and this one they put in order of the hierarchy of their organization. Doesn't matter. It just helps evaluators a lot if you keep your staff list consistent through the other listings as well. They started with their director, and here you go. Here's their director. They've got 2020 training and 2021 training laid out, and so on and so on. And they've done that throughout their entire staff. So very, very clean, concise layout, and easy to see how their training was arranged. And here's an agency after my own heart, since we are an airport authority here at Tampa International Airport. Here's the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority. And they've included a summary narrative, which is great. Jana Vargas, a colleague from the Airport Purchasing Group, a little plug for Airport Purchasing Group. And they also have some free training opportunities out there. If any of you out there on the call are from an airport authority, it's a great organization. So they've published their career development program. You can tell it's very intentional. That's one of our criterion. They have a career development model. And here they have arranged another matrix, more like a table, on title, description, presenter. And they have each procurement staff member highlighted in yellow. So definitely check all these out. Different approaches, all super effective. Last but not least, Travis County. So in their narrative, they've even mentioned the key objectives of their program. And in support of the purposes and objectives, all staff must maintain an extensive knowledge of software programs, and they are required to attend very specific seminars. Really good intentional program. They discuss their certifications. And again, and I'm sure you guys all have it down by now, the lists that are very important in this criterion, the list of employees. And again, their approach was alphabetical by first name. And then they have a table for each employee, starting with the training date. They've got the year highlighted there, so you can tell this is all 2020 for this individual. This is all 2021 for this individual. So some of them have combined the lists, which is fine. It's just different layouts and different ways to highlight what was taken, and different ways to put that in the description where it's clear that it is procurement related. So those are the basic things that will lead you to success in this criterion, and you'll get those 10 points. So without further scrolling, because basically this goes on with each individual staff member in the same format, and it was really easy for them to maintain, I'm sure, and very clear for the evaluators to take a look at and make sure that that they've covered all the requirements. So that is all I have on the model submittals. Hopefully that was helpful to everyone. So in closing in this session, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the free training that's available out there. And I'm sure, Brian, we can get these slides out to the group or distributed some way, or at least the links, hopefully.
We are recording this session and it will be posted to NPI's YouTube channel, hopefully again within 48 hours.
Perfect. So you can see that FEMA has some great procurement training, absolutely free. NASPO, and this has been going on for over a year now, the Procurement U courses. And there are available courses absolutely free that are procurement specific. There are other soft skills classes through NASPO that do have an associated fee, but these, they have an extensive list of free procurement classes. And of course, NIGP Learning, they've got free webinars, and those are certainly qualified as learning and training. So that pretty much covers what I had to talk about today. Again, there's the link for NPI and our model submittals. And last but not least is my email at the bottom. If you have any questions or want to contact me directly for any reason, I'd be happy to answer any questions, as I'm sure Brian would as well. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate everybody's time. And we'll go on and see if we have any more questions that we can answer for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Barbara. And if you do have any questions regarding Criterion 3, go and throw them in the chat. If it's long, you can also unmute yourself and ask the question. And we'll also open it up, since we have a little bit of time left, we'll open it up for questions regarding any part of the program. So feel free to unmute yourself or throw those in the chat. And until I get any questions, I'll just kind of go through, again, a couple things that I always get asked, but feel free to jump in at any time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now, and I'm going to go to the NPI website, and specifically the AEP application portal. And you know, a couple of things. Some people say, well, how do I see the model submittals? Well, first off, you have to be an NPI member. So once you're an NPI member, if you're not an NPI member, you can get information on membership at our website. And as I always preach, membership is only $130. You get $200 off your AEP application, access to the model submittals, discount on NPI's annual conference. So it pays you to be a member, especially if you submit for the AEP award. Once you're a member, you would log in here, clicking on the member login. I'm going to go ahead and log myself in, and hopefully I can type today. And once I'm logged in, it welcomes me to the members only website. And at this time, I can hover over the member only tab and you'll see AEP model submittals, and then also a job board that we have on there. So that's how you access the model submittals. Now, another question that I routinely get asked, and I mentioned it before, but I'll show you now, is how do we see prior year scorecards? Well, it's not through the NPI member website. You don't have to be an NPI member to submit for the AEP application. You should, but you don't have to be in their separate databases. So you would log in through the AEP application and instructions link right here. Log into the AEP portal. If you don't have an account yet, you can register a new account here. But if you do, go ahead and log in. Now mine's going to look a little bit different than everybody else's because I'm an administrator and an evaluator. But if I was looking at just my application, you can see the history link up here. You click on the history link and there's the scorecards that you can access from all your prior years, along with any comments that were left. You can download the submission. So everything's available to you from your prior years. At any time that you submitted after, I believe 2015 is when we went digital. So with that, again, those are probably the two primary questions that I get each year. I will be happy to take any other questions, to show anybody something on the website or how to access something, or if everybody is zoomed out, we can end. So again, take another 60 seconds. Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate you attending. Again, a big thank you to Sourcewell, our government education partner, who has allowed us to present this education series, all 4 classes this year, for free to everybody.
In the chat, I'm not sure if you saw it.
No questions, just thank you very much.
All right, excellent. Well, again, you will receive information regarding the continuing education hour, continuing education unit, or whatever your body calls it, but we'll get that out to you within 48 hours. As a reminder, we've got 2 more sessions left, so if you haven't registered for those, please do. And it is always, if you have any questions, you can email me directly at aep@npiconnection.org, and I will be happy to respond to you or provide additional information, hopefully get your questions answered. So thank you very much. I'll stick around for a little bit longer if anybody wants to hang out and ask a question, but otherwise, thank you. Thank you, Sourcewell. Thank you, Barbara, for a wonderful presentation, and for the other AEP evaluation team members that showed up today. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.